everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Back at it with another video, just like a quick kind of check-in with you guys. I wanted to talk about a really interesting transit that is setting up right now. But in true retrograde fashion, I want to talk about the past and what has actually gone on earlier this year with this transit before we take a look at right now. So let me break out my handy dandy screen brush. There we go. Sorry guys. A little bit of a later video than I'm used to doing. So I want to take you guys back to the end of May of 2022. Okay, so we were about 2 weeks-ish out, maybe closer to 3, after having had that eclipse in Scorpio. So we had a lunar eclipse in Scorpio that was taking place earlier in the month of May. But I'm really looking at, what I'm going to be focusing on is going back in time and taking a look and reviewing Jupiter in Aries in conjunction to Mars in Aries. So I did a video on this. I also did a video on Jupiter in Aries. But I wanted to do a video just touching and reminding everybody that we have Jupiter retrograde coming back into this conjunction point at 3 degrees. So you want to take a look at your chart. You want to take a look at where Aries is in your chart. I want you guys to be thinking about what you were suddenly starting, initiating, what you were getting fired up about, what your focus was, in any projects that were really setting up as a result of this conjunction at the end of May. Now, it's going to be different for everyone, so you have to really kind of think about it. Did something necessarily happen on this day? No, but you might have noticed that the days around here, especially because the moon a couple days earlier was in Aries, it was like, we got to do this, we got to do this thing, we got to do it now, right? Very moon, Mars, Jupiter. Aries is a cardinal fire sign, and it's the first sign of the zodiac. So it has this need to be entrepreneurial. It wants to be the first. It wants to get there fast. It wants to get there quickly. It is very rough and tumble, and it also is something that doesn't always consider other people because it's in a sign that's very focused on the self. So when you pair that with Jupiter also in a fire sign, Jupiter does well in fire signs. Jupiter is more about expansion, philosophy, travel, law, legality, anything in regards to higher education. I really thought for some time that the Jupiter and Aries transit really in, most of 2022 and 2023 was going to be about our personal philosophies changing, right? Really just learning a lot about ourselves, what we believe in, questioning what we believe in the midst of the retrograde. So perhaps there was like stuff setting up at the end of May going into June of 2022 where we were feeling the need to take action in some area of our life, and we wanted to start learning something. We wanted to learn more about Jupiter-Mars themes, which could be like self-defense, personal rights, how to be more handy, how to focus more on fitness, or just taking action, right? So just kind of reflecting for me, I mean, it's definitely been a lot of these things. Like I've seen this go in and out of my 6th house and into my 7th. So it was technically happening right on my descendant, but I did see like collaborations with other astrologers and people in foreign places, and that has like been a theme. I've also seen it materialize as me just like focusing more on like how can I get more done and get more done in a more quick kind of fashion, be producing more and really showing up more, really paying attention to my relationships and also paying more attention to my daily routines and my habits because it's been 6th house to my son. So it's totally changed the way that I'm like eating and fitness and also just trying to be on top of getting my day-to-day things done. So like I said, it's going to be different for everyone, but the fact that this is such a significant conjunction, like Mars will conjunct Jupiter about every 2 years. That's not unusual. But that it's happening in the sign of Aries, like we're not going to see this until both Mars and Jupiter sync up for another, conjunction at the same time. I think in my previous videos when I talked about like Jupiter and Aries, it was very much connected to like, when the slogan for Nike came out, I think it was in the 70s, that was like, just do it, right? Just do it now, get it done. We don't need to figure out what the ending is. We don't really even know what we're doing in some situations. We just need to get started. And so now that I've seen Jupiter in this sign for a couple of months, I've realized that it's like not necessarily about having a plan. It's about being courageous. It's about the willingness to, you know, just take the first step to initiate something new in our life. And it's about kind of rising to the occasion. And it does require activity. It does require us to kind of physically participate because it's in a very active sign. So why am I bringing this up? Well, this energy is going to kind of feel similar to, you know, like an eclipse, right? So when we have an eclipse, or when we have a really significant conjunction, when that gets reactivated through like retrogrades or planets that come into conjunction with that point, it's going to kind of start showing its energy again. So I remember saying to people, you know, when Jupiter retrogrades and it gets back to about 3 degrees in Aries, it's going to build momentum. It's going to have a lot of strength because it's bringing up whatever new seeds we were taking action and planting at the end of May and even in early June. I still believe we may not really see the fruits of some of this until Jupiter comes back to this degree, somewhere closer to the new year. We'll take a look at that tonight. And also, when the sun goes through Aries. Now, this is also really interesting to me, just knowing that we're also getting ready to have a new moon in Libra. It's going to oppose this degree. We see a Mercury retrograde in Libra, which is going back and forth in opposition to this degree. And so much of the astrology right now is talking a lot about how we grow through kind of having the opportunity to like reflect back with other people and like, you know, have other people give us like feedback, and that a lot of the decisions that we're making really doesn't just affect us, it affects others as well. And we have the chance, the opportunity right now to kind of rise to the occasion and choose to participate in relationships and not just push people to the side or decide, hey, I'm going to do it on my own. Or also it's about finding where we're not too thrown off kilter. Like we're also not too engulfed in relationships and so focused on relationships that we're losing sight of our own personal kind of journey, you know, Jupiter in Aries, very personal journey. So yeah, end of May is when we had this conjunction. So now I'm going to take you guys to right now. And I wanted to get this out before Jupiter goes back to this degree. So it was, excuse me, it looked like it was 3 degrees and 19 minutes. So how ironic right now, Mercury, love astrology. Mercury is retrograding backwards in opposition to this degree. So it's triggering it even right now. For some reason, I was like, it just didn't feel right doing this video yet. But, you know, creativity strikes when it strikes. So in a way, you know, the new moon that's coming, the Mercury retrograde, it's all kind of a part of this. And I think it's reminding us that other people might be holding us accountable right now for things that we said that we were going to do, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to get around to doing that thing, or I'm going to be better about this, or I'm going to clean out the garage, or like whatever it is. Like we're getting some kind of feedback from other people. And now we're starting to see some of how the seeds that we have planted and the things that we've been focusing on and growing and manifesting, how now we're seeing it kind of take form in result to our relationships with others. Other people are responding to that in some way, right? So when Jupiter gets back to, let's take it to a couple days from now, it'll be, let's just say 3 degrees, because you're going to be feeling it when it hits 3. So it's going to hit 3 around September 24th, but you're going to start feeling it because of the retrograde now. A couple things that I'm like curious about. One is we are going to have the new moon in Libra. If you guys haven't already seen that video, I kind of talked at length about it, but I didn't really talk too much about the 3 degree point. But yeah, we've got on the 25th a new moon in Libra, highlighting, kind of setting the stage for new relationships and the opportunity to kind of find our balance. Really interesting stuff. We got Mercury still going retrograde. We've got Venus in fall. It's very clear that there's like some event coming, you know, around the end of September, or some shocking news or insights, especially as Mercury is retrograding over that 0 degree Libra point. So it may be bringing up something very significant, like globally, that everybody is going to be talking about. Now, if we look at like Mercury in Libra, which is more about the mediator and finding balance, and it's about the legal system, documents, conversations, our ability to kind of find the middle ground with others, that is being challenged because both the sun and the moon and Mercury are in opposition to Jupiter, and it's retrograde. So we've got Mercury retrograde, you know, miscommunications all around. We've got Jupiter retrograde. We're like, what do I believe in? What do I think? And now there's going to be some external events that are going to be taking place, giving us the opportunity to really kind of go like, you know, is this fair? Is what is being decided upon, or is what, you know, passing in the courts or decisions that are being made, like, is it fair? Is it balanced for us as an individual, right? Jupiter and Aries. So even though it's not going to hit that degree exactly, like per the degree and the minute, it's still a part of the full moon, excuse me, the new moon, still a part of the new moon. We watch for when this goes to 3 minutes and 19 seconds. And so this is just me kind of like splitting hairs and being really exact here. Obviously, it's not going to be closer until the end of September, but still, like, it's worthy of mentioning. Like, there may be something that literally gets re-triggered from the spring of this year. So that's going to be closer to the 29th. So it's about 10 days from now. Here's the thing. Mercury's not going to go direct until the 2nd of October. We're not going to be coming out of the shadow period until closer to mid-October. So all you have to know right now is that Jupiter will return back around the 29th to the exact same place when we had the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, okay? Interesting that we've got the Sun and Venus in a close orb to one another, and still in an opposition to Jupiter. Venus, Jupiter, you know, excessive emotions, sometimes overindulgence, spending, you know, we can find love at a distance, love at abroad. I'm not mad at the Sun-Venus conjunction. I think the opposition to Jupiter is quite harmonious. What I'm really waiting for is maybe like when Venus hits 3 degrees, Mercury hits 3 degrees of Libra and opposes this, right? So we're going to feel like in the midst of like Sun, Venus, Mercury in opposition to Jupiter, things are being magnified, things might be blown out of proportion, or they might seem like bigger than what they really are. And then when these planets come to 3 degrees, so this will be interesting right around the day that Mercury is going retrograde, Venus will be in opposition to Jupiter, and it'll be first at that 3 degrees point, right around here, around 4:30 p.m., October 1st. So notice I'm bringing up more so the degrees that are going to oppose that conjunction. And then we're going to see down the road, once Mercury has stationed on the 2nd, I'm also curious to see what happens when Mercury, you know, comes back into opposition with Jupiter. I think we're going to see a little bit of sparks here around October 11th. Now Mercury is direct. It's getting ready to come out of shadow, so it's gone through its Mercury retrograde process. Still a lot of room for new information to be coming out here with this opposition. And now it's out of 1 degree, so it is an Aries degree. Jupiter is going retrograde back into Pisces pretty soon, so he's really picking up speed. And then we're going to have Mercury hit that 3 degrees again. And I'm looking for that 319 point right around October 13th, right? Just too many coincidences, like so many oppositions to Jupiter, Mercury retrograde going back and forth. Where is there big news and big opportunities, or lots of knowledge or growth, or like lots of action taking place in the Aries area of your life, which is opposing the Libra? So it's like, how do I find the balance, right? How do I find time for both things? You know, traditional astrologers, you're gonna hear them say some pretty gnarly things about oppositions, and rightfully so. Oppositions are very difficult. They represent like the energy of Saturn, so it's like a lot of, how do I reconcile this? Like, how do I do both, you know? And I have found that in some situations, oppositions can be like the backbone of a natal chart, that it can give you a lot of strength and a lot of opportunity to kind of like learn how to go into both sides of your chart and find the balance between the two. Because the truth is that the zodiac is supported on these axes, right? Like, we wouldn't have Aries without Libra. If we didn't have Libra, we'd have nothing but just like fighting matches. And it'd be like, you know, WWF in the streets 24/7. Like, we need Libra's diplomacy, right? On the flip side, I don't think that everything would work just having Libra, because it would be nothing but just, you know, people not deciding where they want to go out to eat, or there would be like too much, you know, generosity, too much romance, not enough friction, and it would be lacking that Mars element. So really what I'm getting at is that great opportunity right now to really be looking at where some of the seeds that we've planted at the end of May going into June of 2022 are starting to emerge, and we're starting to get feedback about some of that stuff from like other people, or we're starting to kind of realize where we need to kind of tweak things and find the balance. Now, if you're wondering like when this is going to be active the most, obviously, you know, when it's at 3 degrees. I guess I should have said that earlier, but that's okay. So technically, Jupiter will enter back into 3 degrees, it looks like right around September 24th. It's going to be closer to that exact degree around September 29th, and it will remain at 3 degrees until October 2nd. Same day that Mercury goes retrograde. So you got a couple of days here between like the 29th and the 2nd before we start to kind of see that shift. Now, if I take you guys into the future and I show you what else is coming, yes, we know that Jupiter is going to drop back into the sign of Pisces, where it is quite comfortable, right? Traditional ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and that's going to be taking place around October 28th. Really active time at the end of October, right? We've got Jupiter going back into Pisces. We've got Mars getting ready to go retrograde. We've got, you know, eclipses that are taking place. Like, you guys are going to be surprised how much the energy is going to pick up the second half of October. So just keep that in the back of your mind, like how quickly things will move, especially as outer planets are going direct, Saturn going direct, Pluto's going to be direct, Mars is going to be going retrograde. We've got big planetary things happening in the skies. So Jupiter will hang out in Pisces only in the later degrees, which 29 degrees of Pisces is the last degree of the zodiac. It is very spiritual. This is the only time in our lifetime, right, for all of us that we are going to experience both Jupiter and Neptune in the same sign ever again. We will not experience this again in our lifetime. By the next time that Jupiter is making a conjunction with Neptune, it will be in the sign of Aries. Super spiritual, very much about prayer and belief, and very high spiritual frequencies. And so you guys have to keep in mind that when Jupiter leaves Aries, which is like wanting to break free and have freedom and traveling and not being told what to do, and it goes back into Pisces, November, December, very emotional time. Like, we're going to be very sensitive and absorbing a lot of things. Jupiter does represent making things bigger, magnifying things. It can be global in the sign of Pisces. And Neptune is going to be about spirituality or isolation. It's going to be about our connection to the divine, or it's going to be about spiraling into the abyss, quite honestly. So you guys need a little bit of insight into that. Just look at what's happened earlier this year with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions. Ironically, you know, for me, I mean, pretty decent time. I mean, it was, you know, going and spending time being around the beaches and stuff, but also just noticed it was a time where people were really having a difficult time emotionally and psychologically. I also noticed just like a huge wave and an uptick of a lot of people who were contracting COVID. So not a surprise with Jupiter, Neptune. Neptune is viruses. Yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out again. Jupiter will hang out obviously in Pisces. We keep taking this forward really until right about here. Jupiter will enter back into the sign of Aries, and that'll be on December 21st, 2022. Now, that is going to be significant because 0 degrees, once again, of the cardinal, you know, axis points, the world axis points, a really potent degree. So we also want to watch when Jupiter is on that, because there can be conflict, there can be war, we can see more extremism that's going on because it can be showing more the Mars side of the sign of Aries. So it drops back into Aries. We're not going to see Jupiter reach that 3 and 19 again until right about here. So it'll be on January 15th, 16th-ish, Once again, things don't necessarily always happen that day, but interesting stuff. We've got a Sun-Pluto setting up, that conjunction. We've also got squares between Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Capricorn to Jupiter. So likely there's going to be a lot of change happening in terms of government or world power that will be shifting, and that is going to be in some hard angles to Jupiter. So this is the time to watch. You know, it's like with retrogrades, we see something come into shadow, so we start to see the effects, and then we see the retrograde, and then we kind of start to rearrange things or put the pieces together, and then when it goes direct and it hits for the third time, usually we see like what the full effect of it is. So some of you guys may not really start to see the full effect of things really until, I would say, like January through the better part of like March, April of 2023. So the markers would be the end of May going into June 2022. Then we are going to be seeing this again at the end of September going into early October 2022. And then again right around mid-January 2023. Now that can be when things begin to emerge, although I do think we're working out the kinks because we have a square from Mercury and Capricorn to Jupiter, which makes me feel like there is a need to reassess and rework systems, power, timing, something in regards to, you know, our business and our responsibilities in the world. And yeah, Mercury square Jupiter, especially when it's retrograde, can be some very big news that's emerging, right? So then I'll take you guys to when the sun is getting into, actually, let me go back here. So just so you know, it's going to stay at 3 degrees from about the 14th of January through the 20th of January. So that week it'll be at 3 degrees. So it's still highlighting that. Then I want to take you to when planets start crossing over that Mars-Jupiter original conjunction point. So we're going to have Venus that will hit it, and this will be right around February 23rd. We're going to have the sun come to 3 degrees of Aries, activating that point. And that is also going to be what appears to be a Aries new moon. And that will be at 0 degrees. Is that correct? I haven't even looked at this yet. Wowzers. So we're going to have a 0 degrees Aries new moon. I don't believe that's an eclipse. I think that the eclipse will actually be at 29 degrees, if I remember correctly. Then we're going to have the sun that's going to activate the 3 degree point, and that's going to be on the 23rd, the 24th of March of 2023. And I think it's going to take about that long. I mean, if we really want to look at it, you know, Mercury will be there as well. So March 20th. So a lot of these things, right, we may not see really fully come into form or fully, you know, take shape until the spring of next year. I also want to reiterate that, you know, we are seeing this conjunction that took place that was at 3 degrees of Aries. So it is a very Gemini degree. It's about communication, it's about documents, it's about travel, personal freedom, free speech, right? Mercury and, you know, the sun coming there. I wonder if it's going to be like us discussing whether or not we have limited speech. And we're also going to see in the days to follow that as the sun is coming into Aries, change this, there we go. As the sun is coming into Aries, when it hits that 3 degrees, it's also coming into a square with Mars, okay? It's an out of sign, but it's within 4 degrees. So I definitely think that this is like the finale of the Mars retrograde and Mars retrograde in Gemini. I think we're going to find out that there's going to be lots of changes going on with what we can say, what we can post, what's being monitored, what's being filtered, what's being shadow banned, like anything on the internet, anything on social media platforms, especially on our own personal social media, you know. So just some food for thought for you guys. Just, you know, as you're going through really like the next 10 days, you may start to feel it a little bit sooner. We're going to see some of this energy that's going to kind of pop up a little bit. If you just want me to take you guys through this, I can take you guys through this also. Okay, so for Aries and Aries rising, just so you guys know, This conjunction took place in your first house or along your ascendant or by your sun or by your moon. As always, these are whole sign predictions, so you want to listen for your Western whole sign. You can also listen for your sun. But if you were an Aries or an Aries rising, this took place in your first house, and it was really important because it highlighted your chart ruler, which was Mars, and it also highlighted your ninth house ruler, which was Jupiter. Likely you've been feeling more enthusiastic about learning or about traveling. Maybe you've been taking classes, maybe you've been teaching. Maybe you have been thinking about just traveling and going to places that you have not traveled before, even if that means going by yourself. You've also been more adamant about wanting to talk to people about your beliefs, your philosophies, and it's just been something that's just been coming through you and something that you want to share with individuals. And it's been an opportunity for you to really share your beliefs or your philosophy with the world. And so likely now that Jupiter is going retrograde, you've been reevaluating, what have I been learning? What have I been studying? What am I going back to? Are there places I want to go back to? Are there lessons that I want to go back to? Am I reconnecting with gurus or mentors or teachers? Okay. For Taurus and Taurus rising, you have got Jupiter going retrograde in your 12th house. So the 12th house is hidden, it's self-undoing, it can be about seclusion, it can also be about temples and churches and prayer and ritual, okay? Because I've seen some people that are like, I'm going back to church or I'm going back to an old belief system. It also can be about returning back to worship, returning back to countries that you have visited in the past. Jupiter is your 8th house lord, and it is associated with other people's resources. So this can also be rest, right? So there can be rest going on here. It can mean that there's a lot of working behind the scenes when it comes to making money with another person. Maybe there is some opportunity for you to wrap up and finish anything in regards to taxes and joint resources or inheritances. Keep in mind, Jupiter is a positive sign, okay? So the fact that it's hanging out in your 12th house, it's going to almost feel like you've got a spirit team that's, got your back. They're there to help support you. It's really important for you to be praying and having a night routine, paying attention to your dreams, and adding a little bit more faith as you move through some of these changes and transformations that are going on in your life. Next year, you're going to have Jupiter go into your sign, and it's going to conjunct your ascendant. For some of you guys, it'll be a relocation. For others, it'll be a new philosophy and a view of life. For some, it'll be pregnancy. It really just depends on how this is going to materialize. But for right now, I think that adding a little bit of faith can really help you kind of get through some of these challenging times, especially when you're questioning if everything's going to pan out okay. For Gemini and Gemini rising, you have got Jupiter that is going retrograde through your 11th house. Now it's reactivating that Mars point. Your 11th house is all about friends, your goals, networking, and, your friendships, parties, good times, good fortune. Jupiter is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, and Mars rules your 11th. So for Jupiter to be going retrograde, I feel like there's really good things going on for your friends. There's good things going on for your significant other. If you're not in a relationship, reconnecting and spending time with your friends could very well lead to you meeting someone, a chance meeting at a birthday party or a gathering or a get-together. I also feel like if you are in a relationship, this is about your partner just having good news to share. That's the other way I could look at it, especially if they're in the creative field or they're self-employed. Know that Jupiter is 5 houses away from your 7th. So for some of your partners, they might be really enthusiastic, really in love, wanting to collaborate, playful, wanting to have fun. And there can be more talk of just celebrating or even talking about children. So that is possible there. For Cancer and Cancer rising, this is going to be quite active for you, Cancer. You have got Jupiter that's going retrograde through your 10th house, reevaluating anything in regards to your career goals and where you could be expanding. This is where you get super, super tapped in when retrograde Jupiter is in the 10th house when it comes to what you believe your career life could be, what you believe your daily routine could be. Now, Jupiter rules your 6th house, which deals with coworkers, co-working spaces, pets, your health. I feel like there's a reevaluation of being like, is it my responsibility to take better care of my health? Is it my responsibility to, clean up my office space, find a place to work, start a new job, hire people? There is some sense of that kind of coming up. The good news is, Cancer, I know it's a little uncomfortable, okay? Right now, currently, you've got a mess of a Mercury retrograde and planets in Libra that's going to be going on at this time. So you're going to feel like it's a lot of you against your family or your home dynamic. It's also squaring your placements in Cancer. So it's creating a T-square. And the truth is like you have to keep showing up and being responsible for yourself, responsible for your health, responsible for your work, getting things done. You may be feeling the burden of having to like manage everything on your own or managing a team. It can also just be a time where you really finally take responsibility for your health or for some of your habits. And I feel like it can be really good. And it's really kicking things into overdrive and making you realize that if it's not you, who's it going to be, Good luck, Cancer. For Leo and Leo rising, you have got Jupiter that is going retrograde in your 9th house. Jupiter is very happy in this house, by the way. It's associated with the 9th house traditionally in Sagittarius. It's also a fellow sister sign. So for you to have Jupiter going retrograde in the 9th, you're rethinking, do I go back to school? Do I finish a program? Do I edit a book? Do I publish it? What do I believe in? Where do I want to travel back to, right? Jupiter rules your 5th house. So you might be thinking about like returning back to places that you've been before for a vacation. It could also be you reevaluating legal proceedings, documents, anything like that, especially if it involves self-employment or children. You might be thinking about the bigger picture when it comes to your love life or when it comes to your happiness and like wanting to return back to places that made you happy in the past. I'm loving the fact that it's going to trine your Leo placements or your ascendant. I think similar to, I think I said to Taurus, like a little bit of faith is going to get you a long way, okay? You may notice there's a little bit of slowing down in the travel department or that you're reevaluating if you want to take a trip or if it's a good idea for you to file a lawsuit or if it's a good idea for you to publish a book. But Jupiter retrograde here, I think, is super harmonious to your placements. And if anything, it's going to help you see the bigger picture of like ultimately where your life is going and what's going to bring you the most happiness. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You have got Jupiter retrograde in your 8th house of Aries. 8th house, sex, transformation, karmic entanglement that we have with other people. Anything that deals with expansion of our relationship with other people's money and resources. Jupiter rules your natal 4th house. So for Jupiter to be going a retrograde back from Aries into Pisces, it's highlighting the fact that there is the need to really look at intimacy, right? Your relationship with intimacy with other people, reevaluating what you owe other people, what they owe you. This can be tax, loans, paying off school stuff. This can also be reevaluating how much you want to be spending when it comes to your home base, what you want to pay on a mortgage, what you want to pay on rent. If there's a need to reevaluate whether or not, you're on the same page with a spouse or a partner when it comes to changing homes or ultimately what the cost of living might be. Really positive for you in terms of relationships because Jupiter will dip back into your 7th house, expanding those relationships. But if you have been unwilling to go deeper in relationships, open yourself up to someone new, if you have felt really blocked and that there has been a lack of intimacy or connection with other people, this is going to be highlighting that and bringing that up. There can be property taxes. There can be death and legacy and inheritance things. I'm sorry to say, but it is possible because you've got Jupiter retrograding in a house that rules the 4th. Some family might be asking you if you need assistance or if you can assist them financially. They might be asking if you'd consider moving, and you might be looking at what it would cost you to move back home and be closer to family. We've got Libra and Libra rising. Very active for all the cardinal signs. Obviously, we've got Jupiter that's going retrograde in your 7th house, which deals with relationships. You can hear back from people from the past. You can notice that there is a sense of you reflecting, what is my relationship with other people? This can be clients, this can be boyfriends, girlfriends, therapists, anybody who you're in a one-on-one relationship with. You can also be reevaluating who it is that you want to talk to, right? Because Jupiter rules your third house. If you're looking for an opportunity to reevaluate like what you can sell, if you're selling services, if you're selling like consultations, if you talk by phone, you might be reevaluating also if you want to teach something or if you want to learn something. This is also going to put a highlight on your communication style with siblings or with neighbors or with your romantic one-on-one relationship. So if you're in a partnership or you're married, it's reevaluating, you know, how do we communicate more effectively? It can also be, where do we want to live? Do we want to move? That can be coming up for you as well, because the third house rules movement. Obviously, a little bit of a stressful time, Libra, okay, because this does make an opposition to your first house. What I like about Jupiter here is that you've got people that are pushing you to communicate and like pushing you to kind of like stand up, even if that means standing up for yourself and being like, give me a little bit of space, all right? Watch for legal documents. There might be things you need to sign. There might be a reevaluation also of leases and vehicles. And if you've been at odds with a sibling or a family member, you might be hearing back from them, okay? We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You have got Jupiter going retrograde in your 6th house in the sign of Aries. Now it's reactivating that 3-degree point that we saw, like I said, at the end of May going into June. Jupiter is the ruler of your financial house, your money house, anything in regards to food, self-esteem, anything of that nature. As Jupiter is retrograding from your 6th house in Aries back into your 5th house of Pisces, it's saying, what are my habits? What are my routines? You know, where could I be more active? Where am I drinking too much? Where am I sleeping too much? Where am I overworking? And it can really help you really cut bad habits, because the 2nd house is anything you put in your mouth. So if you're speaking unkindly to yourself, it's going to help you break that. If you are eating things you shouldn't be eating, it's going to help you break that. If you need to get more into like a schedule, right? Like it can help you maintain that and kind of keep the faith for being able to bring more healthier habits into your life and maintain whatever changes you've made. Very interesting, you know, I'll note that Jupiter leaving Aries and going back into your 5th house is quite positive for the water signs, okay? Because you're going to see that it is going to be trining either your ascendant or any of the planets that you have in Pisces, in Scorpio. And so as it retrogrades back, it'll make trines to your ascendant. So for Sun Scorpios, it's like, okay, I've gotten into a healthier habit and therefore I feel better. Or I have learned how to work out and have fun, because Jupiter in the 5th can be about having fun. Maybe you have found a new office space. Maybe you've got a new routine. Maybe you've gotten work to the point where you can just do more of the things that you want to do. This is also a big pregnancy transit for Scorpios as Jupiter retrogrades back into your 5th. So some of you guys are getting healthy because you're planning on having children. We have got now Sag and Sag rising. Very important for you, Sag, because obviously your chart is ruled by Jupiter. So we've got Jupiter hanging out in your 5th house, retrograding. Even in spite of the retrograde, for many Sag risings, a lot of you guys are painting, creating, starting businesses. You guys are really doing amazing with this energy, probably because it's trining your ascendant or your planets in Sag. Some of you guys have gotten back into the swing of dating. You're realizing what makes you happy again. You might just feel like you're on a really lucky streak. Think back to what you've been starting since the spring of this year going into the summer, and what's beginning to really fully emerge for you in the new year. Obviously, Jupiter in the 5th can bring pregnancy, same with Scorpio, but it might be that you're reevaluating what your childhood was like, because Jupiter is also the traditional ruler of your 4th house. So there can be a sense of you going, do I need to go back home and visit family? Do I need to reflect on the past? Do I reflect on what happened to me when I was younger and like how I can get in touch with that younger version of me and have happiness? When it retrogrades back to your 4th house, it is still going to be in a sign square to your planet. So there can be a sense of you being like, I want to be home more, I'm focusing more on my home life, or, you know, something in regards to family. You might return home and visit family. But regardless, once Jupiter fully comes back into your fifth, I think it's going to be emerging for you more in a sense of being able to just really express your happiness, your joy, your talents, and being capable or being able to feel like you can give a lot more love, okay? Great for self-employed and also just meeting people in general romantically. Now we've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising, okay? So you have got Jupiter that's going retrograde, reactivating that 3-degree point in your 4th house of home. Similar to Cancer and Libra, this is a little tense because Jupiter will be forming squares to your placements in Capricorn, especially if you're within like the first 6 degrees. It's reactivating that 3-degree point that we had earlier this year. So think back to the spring, what you were starting that was new. Did you have to go home? Were you looking for a new home? Are you renovating a home? Did you just buy a home? Are you thinking about spending more time at home? Have you been home taking care of family? Jupiter is the ruler of your 12th house. I've seen many Cap risings that have had to go and take care of parents, or they've been having to take care of loved ones and kind of spending time with them. Yes, it's been tricky because it's been opposing all of this Libra right now, which is like you're being pulled in all different directions. There's work stuff, there's family stuff, there's health stuff. You're having all kinds of changes right now, and it's really important to just be patient. Know that Jupiter brings blessings, okay? So if there does need to be changes in regards to your work or your home, likely it's trying to bring you closer to family, helping you focus more on getting settled when it comes to your home life. And for some of you guys, it's moving to other countries. For some of you guys, it's moving back home because you have to take care of someone. Maybe some of you guys are dealing with like the grieving process still of like leaving a home behind or like leaving a family member behind. It is possible, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say. But I think that as Jupiter is going back into Pisces, it's going to sextile your ascendant. So it is opening up the opportunity to communicate more with family, start thinking about where you would want to be living, and come up with a plan if you do have to go somewhere in the new year, okay? Very emotional transit with Jupiter in the 4th house. It doesn't always bring all of the positive new blessings that people think it can be a bit bittersweet. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So you've got Jupiter going retrograde in your 3rd house, reactivating that 3-degree point. Jupiter is traditionally the ruler of your 11th house of goals and friends, okay? So you might be hearing from people from the past. They're calling you. They're like, let's get together. Let's have fun. What are you up to? Come visit me. Let's go on a trip. You might also just notice that there's more opportunities to be traveling and learning, maybe going to like seminars and other things like that. It's reactivating the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, which happened in the spring. Were some of you guys thinking about learning a language? Were you thinking about moving? Were you thinking about buying a new car? Did your goals somehow shift, and did you start writing them down or talking to people about what it is that you were hoping to bring into your reality? Now, Jupiter will go retrograde later this year back into your 2nd house, and it's likely going to bless you with a little bit more wealth. You might see like a nice little chunk of change come in. You might bring in a little bit more resources towards the end of the year. I'm wondering if you're thinking more about your goals and how you can bring more of that in, and how you can possibly be just opening up levels of communication in general. So you're just communicating more. There is a need for you to get the word out there. So if you got to launch a podcast, if you've got to put out a social media platform, if you want to start a blog, launch a website, these are the kinds of things that we might see that is coming pretty soon for you, okay? Okay, so let's go to Pisces. There we go. Pisces and Pisces rising. So we've got Jupiter that's going retrograde in your 2nd house. This is all about money, resources, self-esteem, your spending power, your personal belongings. And Jupiter is your traditional chart ruler. It also rules your 10th house of career. So as Jupiter goes retrograde in the 2nd house, maybe you're noticing that you're reevaluating what it is your financial situation is, what your spending power is, what you value, what you want to buy, what you want to get rid of, what you're wanting to change. Maybe you're making changes in terms of how you're getting paid, or maybe you're looking at renegotiating a salary. Pretty good for you. I mean, I think that, Jupiter leaving the 2nd house, briefly going back into your 1st, is just going to bring you more optimism. It might bring you more visibility for your career. But ultimately, I think like there are seeds that have been planted, and you may have invested in things, bought things suddenly, invested in stocks, or you've been investing in yourself and like learning new talents and doing more things with your talents or also your resources, knowing that it was going to pay off down the road, right? So the fact that this conjunction is being re-highlighted, you want to look back at the May-June period of 2022 and ask yourself, where did I start investing in myself more? Where did I see a nice little chunk of change come in? Where did I set money aside in case I need it in the future? And how are my values changing, especially your beliefs in regards to what you value, what's important, right? You might realize you're not spending money on the kind of things that you used to. Now you're focusing more on spending your money on things that are enhancing your talent, building on your self-esteem, helping you get more visibility and possibly expand in terms of your career, okay? That's it for me for tonight, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know if you start to see these glimmers of the activation point highlighting, you know, coming up over like the next week or two. I am pretty confident it's going to be very active with the Mercury opposition, with the new moon in opposition. We are going to see that these things that we have been really setting our mind to, things that we've been believing in, things we've been praying for, it's going to start popping up. And it might even be people who start showing up into our life, really helping us with the process of making this, you know, come to fruition, because it is getting a little bit of boost from Libra. So go and take a look at where this is happening in your chart. If you guys want, leave me comments. I'm always happy to hear from you. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, hit the subscription button below, tongue-tied, sorry. And you'll be alerted as to when I have new content coming out. We've got new videos on the channel every couple days. And I will be back in a couple of days' time with a new video for you guys later this week. If you want to book a personal reading with me, check out my links below. You can go to beyondtheveil.tarot.com. You can see my schedule and my availability, and you can get on my schedule and get a reading with me. Okay, tongue-tied, Mercury retrograde, Saturn is square my Mercury, so sorry guys. Anyway, I will see all of you very soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.